Hey everyone, Coach Lori here, and I am so excited for this next guest that we have here on Conversations with Courageous Cancer Warriors. So she is known as the Queen of Reframe, and when I tell you that this woman is on fire, I can't even begin to explain it to you. So I really hope that you take the time today to really listen to the amount of amazing knowledge and insight that Carol Lawson provides. Carol, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I love the fact that you just use that word courage, because when I go live on my Facebook page, I welcome everybody to Carol's Courage to Confidence Corner. That's what I call it, because I work with my clients and I teach on this as part of my tools and strategies, is that confidence is not a feeling. Confidence is a decision to act, because you can act your way into feeling. But if you're going to wait till you feel like it, it ain't going to get done, right?
It's like exercise, right?
It's with so many things. If you wait till you feel like it, right? And so confidence is a decision to act. And we start with the premise of courage. You take that little step of courage, and I work with my clients. My clients, we redefine the word success. Okay. Yeah. And my clients understand, and I teach on this as well, success is in the attempt, but it's in the attempt without judgment. So you'll hear a little bit about my story in a minute, but in my 26 years of corporate sales for Fortune 100 companies, it was always, well, we'll celebrate, Carol, when you make your annual quota. I was like, what? Like, I don't want to wait till the end of it. What if it takes me all 12 months? You mean I can't celebrate all 12 months? Yeah. And so one year at Paychecks, that was my last corporate job, they tripled our quota, our sales quota overnight, tripled it. So every Monday morning, I had a meeting with my boss, 8 a.m. And I went in and I said, I can't even look at that number. Can't look at it. Every week when I come into your office on a white piece of paper in big, bold red ink, I want my number for that week, just that week. And she said, okay. Now, I didn't know at the time that what I was doing was tacking until I learned a boating term. And I would go back and I would put it on my cubicle and I would say, okay, what 3 things? And I work with my clients. If you're listening out there, I'm going to give you some golden nuggets to write down. I call them writer downers. So what 3 things do I need to do today to get me closer to my goal? Closer, right? I'm not trying to go from 0 to $1 million sale. I'm trying to get closer. And every time I did one of them, I celebrated the fact that I did it. And I looked at what worked or perhaps what didn't work without saying, oh, that was terrible or that was stupid. I don't do that. And we take the word failure out of my clients' language as well. My clients, you know what they learn to do? They learn to go, well, that was a learning lesson. And then we work on what they learned and we make mid-course corrections. And that's what tacking does for you. You said you're learning about boating. Tacking allows you to see success more quickly, celebrate more often, and effectively and quickly make mid-course corrections. That's what tacking does.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because especially for those going through, like a cancer diagnosis, yes. It's sometimes the whole process is so overwhelming, whether you're the patient themselves, the caregiver, and even as a provider. So for me, I hear that, and it really is, we have a tagline here to live courageously, like don't be stopped by fear, keep moving forward, take small steps at a time, celebrate the small wins. And that's exactly what your tacking embodies. Like it's really like know your goal, right? So everybody, we want to live to see another day. But like every morning when I wake up, I literally turn to my boyfriend and I'm like, we made it through the night. We are here to have another great day. And it's how we start our day every morning. And I love that you teach on that you support your clients with that, and that you really embody that. Like that's who you are. So how do you find that works for you? Like, do you have an example of when you're like outside of, reaching your sales goals? Have you had something that you've used that in your personal life?
Oh, absolutely. There I was in the summer of 2014, 26 years of corporate successful sales, right? $70 million in revenue. I had walked the stages, gotten the awards, managed the people. And I thought, I got it made. I can do this in my sleep. And then one day I got a call and they told me they were cutting my territory by 80%. And I was like, 80%, I've been building this territory for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to tell me twice. It was like, it's time to look for another job. Now I was a weird salesperson because I love large corporate structure. I love structure and I'm a rule follower. And that is not true for most salespeople. I'm a rule follower. But a friend of mine whispered in my ear about an opportunity at a very small company. And so I went. And after 2 interviews, they hired me. Lori, they doubled my base salary plus commissions, and they gave me a director title, right? I thought, oh, I could just see the potential. Now, 6 weeks into the job, I'm on vacation because I had negotiated that up front. It was already paid for vacation. And at the time, I was doing what I thought a good employee did. I was staying in touch with my boss, the CEO, while I was on vacation. Now, I will tell you, what does Maya Angelou say? When you learn better, you do better. I do not advocate that for my clients anymore, right? I say, honey, when you're on vacation, you're on vacation. But there I was, right? And I got an email asking my opinion on something. And so I replied back. Now, there we were in beautiful, if you've never been, Lori, meet me there next year. It'll be the 50th anniversary of the world's largest hot air balloon festival in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, I want to do that. I was just talking about that.
Phenomenal.
Oh my goodness. I'm there. I'm there.
That's where we were. That's where we were. So I replied back to this email, and he usually replies back right away, and he didn't. So we went out and we enjoyed our day and had dinner and drinks and came in that night, and ding, there goes my phone. And it said, Carol Boston, you've got mail. Here's what it said. It said, Carol, comma, that's what you really think? And it had 5 question marks behind it. Then it said, don't bother coming in here on Monday. When your vacation is over, you're done here.
What?
That's what I said. I'm like, I don't, 27 years, I don't get fired. I was like, I just got fired in an email for giving an opinion I was asked for. Are you kidding me? Now, one of the lessons I learned is I didn't advocate for myself. Florida is a no-fault state. I was like, oh, I got fired. I'll get another job. I had a great career. I didn't really push back. So one of the things I say for my clients is that I help established female business owners know their value, own their power, and what? Advocate for themselves so they can rise up and become the lioness leaders they were created to be. And this has resulted in many of them doubling and tripling their income. That's not the goal I set out with, but the personal leadership and the things that they take on results in that. So I learned that lesson back in 2014. I didn't advocate for myself. I came back, I had an interview the very next day. And Lori, I was flown all over this country, 3 and 4 interviews deep, crickets. And I thought, how ironic that I could sell $70 million worth of business for somebody else, and I can't sell a deal to get myself a job. Now, faith is my foundation, and that's where I always go. So I was depleting my 401k. I was determined to get a job. Now, I want you to think about this. We can't read the label when we're inside a jar, and we're all in a jar. And I tell my clients, but I can read your label, and I can help you write a new label and step into who you were truly created to be so you can let that story that's holding you in the past. All of us. Right?
That's some powerful stuff, because regardless, you're using business and your career as the platform, but really that resonates with every part of life, right? So, and it's very true that when you are especially when you're in crisis, right, you can't see, like you said, outside of that jar. But that's why finding your tribe and establishing community and surrounding yourself with people who believe in you really are your support at the time where you can't be a support for yourself. And you told me a quote, that you trust in someone else's vision of yourself. How does that go again? Remind me.
Sometimes you have to trust in someone else's vision for you until you can believe it for yourself. And it's happened 3 pivotal times in my life. It's how I got a tennis scholarship. It's how I got my first corporate job that moved me from Dallas, Texas to Florida, where I didn't know anybody. And it's how I became a professional speaker, because someone else had that vision for me. And it's why I think everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a coach. I mean, at one point, Oprah Winfrey had 4 coaches. And somebody said, why do you have 4 coaches? And she said, no one is an expert in all 4 quadrants of my life. And I want to know that I'm living my entire life at the highest level.
I love that.
Right.
I love
and
that.
every coach needs a coach, just like every therapist needs a therapist, right? You don't want them doing your work through them. And so would you like me to share one of those stories with you?
Yeah, we'd love to hear it. Absolutely.
So we'll come back to the other story later. But It was in the spring of 1987. I was going through a divorce. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm an LSU Fighting Tiger to this day. And I knew I didn't want to be a tennis teaching professional. I'm an ex-collegiate and professional tennis player as well. That kind of ties into what I just said. I knew I didn't want to be a tennis teaching professional for my whole life. And there I was, not knowing what I was going to do. And my car caught on fire. And the insurance company wouldn't pay for it through some loophole. Now, my dad has been in the insurance for 35 years. So I called my dad. Now, he's from the deep South, Lori. So I call my dad and I tell him my story. And he says, well, now, Carol, you know I'm not in that kind of insurance. I can't help you with that. But if you come home, I got somebody to help you get a car, even if you don't have a job.
Oh, daddies are the best.
And he's got that kind of accent, right? So I get a new car and I go over to Dallas, Texas, living with my second cousin. At the time, she was head of personnel for Neiman Marcus. She taught me how to buy the navy suit and the pearls and the heels and the pantyhose. Aren't you glad we don't have to wear pantyhose all the time anymore?
So great.
And so this is when the government had just broken up the monopoly of AT&T and all the baby bells. So competition in the long distance market was fierce. That's where Sprint was born, MCI was born. And I got hired by a company called Metro Media Communications. Forgive me, I've been talking a lot today. And the lady who hired me said, can you come in and meet my boss, the vice president, tomorrow? Sure. So I came in. She interviewed me and she sat back and she says, great, I'll see you in Miami in a week. And I said, no, you won't. Mind you, I needed a job. And I said, you have an office in Dallas. I'm interviewing in Dallas. My friends from the tennis tour are in Dallas and my family is 3.5 hours away. I'm working in Dallas. Pretty cocky of me, right? And I said, I'm working in Dallas. And she just calmly looked at me and she said, but I need somebody really strong in Miami in a week. And I said, how do you know I'm strong? I've never done this before. And she said, trust me and be there in a week. And so I did. And that led to a very successful 26-year sales career in corporate America for Fortune 100 companies.
Wow.
She had that vision for me. And I chose to trust in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so powerful, right? Because you're like, I'm not doing that. In so many aspects of our life, we're like, I'm not doing that. And it's so true that sometimes you just need to take that blind leap of faith to just go with it, go wherever the universe is taking you, right? And, one of the other things, and how, for the listeners, how we know each other is because we just launched the Women Who Boss Up book. Yes. And that book is exactly that. It's how do you, have blind faith in something, you're going through a life crisis, and you find your way out, and you find your way out powerfully. And what you think it might look like is nothing like what it's going to look like. And yet you're still okay at the end of it. So you're part of the book. And I really love what you talk about. You're the Queen of Reframe. So tell us a little bit about what that means. What work do you do with your clients in order to have them be really successful in life?
Empowering questions. And very few people truly know how to ask them. And nobody that I've met, except the person I learned from, the master, understands that you have to start with a powerful statement that has embedded presuppositions. Way too much for this today, right? That's a 3-day course at least. But real quickly, many, many months into my job hunting process, faith is my foundation. And I literally said, I was depleting my 401k because I was determined to do what? Stay in my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I saw myself, I'm in this jar. I'm a salesperson.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I really did yell. I'm like, look, you created me. You know, I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I do not want to own my own business. You got to help me find a good job. And Lori, 2 weeks to the day from that prayer, out of the blue, I got an email from a woman I met one time out of town at a conference, and she gifted me a $3,500 ticket to go to Los Angeles to study at Guerrilla Business School. Now, I tell people my God has a sense of humor because Guerrilla Business School was a foundational school for entrepreneurs. And I said, what I'm doing isn't working, and I don't know what I don't know. So off I went. And the very first thing I learned, which I mentioned earlier, is you can't read the label when you're inside a jar. And we're all in a jar. I think that is more than likely going to be the title of my first my own book. Anyway, the second thing I learned was about empowering questions, and I was amazed at them, and I was determined to master them. This is back in 2015. And so I studied with the top people, Nirka, Michael Strassner, who's a pioneer, John Maxwell in leadership in this. So here's what empowering questions do. They allow you to reframe from focusing on what isn't working and open you to opportunities you've never even considered. When you put an empowering question out to God and the universe, the caveat is that you're not going to sit around and try to figure it out because you're in a jar. You're telling God and the universe, I'm open to seeing, hearing, saying, or doing something I've never even thought of before. It creates Oprah aha moments. Mm-hmm. People will understand what that means. Like, oh my God, Oprah aha, right? And they're powerful. I teach on them. I use them for myself, and I use them with my clients. May I give you a quick client story? First thing I want to tell you, I'm going to give this to your audience right now. This is a writer downer. Mm-hmm. Empowering questions never, ever, ever start with the word why. You need to write that down. Why brings in defensiveness. The defensiveness brings in the ego, and the ego brings in emotion. And when emotions go up, intelligence goes down for every person, right? Every person. And that's, people often say, oh, I know, Carol, I say things I don't mean when I'm angry, right? Their emotions got too high. But think about the lady who goes to Las Vegas to have a good weekend. And she wakes up the next day and she looks in the side of the bed and who is that? And how did I get this ring on my finger? Right? Her emotions were good emotions. She was having fun, but her emotions got so high that her intelligence went down.
Right.
Right.
So I think we've all been there. Yes.
So they never, ever, ever start with why.
Yeah.
I'll give you one quick scenario for parents, right? And this is also when you're dealing in crisis, the last thing that you want to ask is why. Mm-hmm. Why puts people on the defensive and it challenges them. Mm-hmm. For example, whether you're a parent or not, you had parents and they either did this to you or you've done this to your child, right? Let's say your child doesn't come home on time and you said, what? Why did you miss curfew? What's the first thing they do? They get defensive. Or your child comes home. This happened to me, 7th grade. Why did you get that bad grade on your report card? Mm-hmm. And you typically end up in an argument with your child back and forth with it, right? Because an argument's about what? Somebody trying to be right.
Right.
Here's a writer downer for you out there. Choose to be happy rather than right.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
So I said to this course I was teaching, I said, what if you had asked your child this question? If you had looked at that report card and said, what one thing, because when you're doing empowering questions, you're looking for something specific. It's one thing. You're not vague when you ask. What one thing could you do differently next semester to improve upon that grade? Mm. Do you think you would have a different conversation with that child?
Totally. Absolutely.
And if that child thinks up the answer, they're more likely to actually do it.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, exactly. 100%. And that's the foundation of coaching too. When you think about it, is to have you think beyond where you are and asking the questions that allow you to even just, like you said, you might not know it in that moment, but at some point down the road, it'll become clear as to what the path is for you. And so I really, really love that. And I know, in my own life, I've had moments where, I just put it out there in the universe and then like 2 days later, something shows up, right? And it's like, you need to stay in the inquiry, you need to stay open, and you need to stay inquisitive as to like, what is the plan? What is my path? I believe it within every cell of my being that, I worked in Boston for a really long time. I then went back to Connecticut because that's where my family was. And I spent 15 years in Connecticut, and Boston kept calling me to go back. And it was a prestigious hospital in Boston. I'm like, they could get anybody. I turned the job down 3 times.
Wow.
Yet they still kept coming back to me. And I'm like, and I remember having this conversation, and literally I said out loud, universe, I have no idea why you're sending me back to Boston, but I'm going to go. And I literally took a leap of faith.
Good.
I ended up in Boston. I was working for a breast oncologist, and literally a year later, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer.
Holy cow.
So what you say is exactly that. Like, sometimes just go with it. Don't fight it. And I am clear that I am alive today because the universe put me exactly where I needed to be.
Mm.
So yeah.
I love hearing that. That's awesome. One of the things I want to do is not mislead people. You don't always get an answer in 2 days, right?
Right. Oh no, for me it took a year, right?
And you got to put the same question out to the universe consistently. I tell my clients to do it 6 to 8 times a day. So I had this client, the first time she came to see me, she was on time. This is obviously pre-COVID. I had an office. By the 4th visit, Lori, she was so late, it was ridiculous. So she came in. I told you I'm a hugger. I gave her a hug, sat her down, and I said, get out your pen and paper. We cannot miss this coaching opportunity. And she kind of looks at me because we don't typically start like that. I'm like, no, I'm serious. So here's another writer downer for your audience. This is the first thing I had her write down. How I do anything is how I do everything. Mm-hmm. Now, you're a human being. I'm a human being. Most people, when they show up late to a meeting, what do? They want to give you a defensive story about why they're late. And she started to do that. And I said, no, this is not about you being late. I don't need a story. And she said, it's not. And I said, no. She goes, then what's it about? I said, this is about where else in your life are you not showing up for you? And she said, what? And I said, well, you pay me in advance for my time. I'm not giving you any money back. And I have a schedule of clients that I keep, so I'm not giving you extra time. I want you to write that down. And she kind of grinned at me. She goes, is that my homework for next week? I said, honey, that's your homework ad nauseum. I want you putting that out to God and the universe 6 or 8 times a day. I want it on your dashboard. I want it on your mirror. I want it on your refrigerator. Will you do that consistently? And she said, yes. Fast forward, I don't know if it's 2 months, 3 months. We're working on a business challenge for her. She sat up, her eyes got really big. I'm like, what's up? She goes, oh my God, that's another place I'm not showing up for me. Mm. And over time, as she became aware of where she was self-sabotaging and not showing up, and we were able to implement new leadership habits and tools, we doubled her income in 6 months. Yeah. But think of what I did. I asked an empowering question. If I had said, why are you late? She wouldn't have learned anything. There would have been no conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's all connected, right? Like how you treat the mailman is how you treat your spouse, is how you treat your children. I mean, it's all connected. If you think that you have one area of life that's not working, then start looking at other, because I'm sure if you show up late all the time in one place, then you're going to show up late everywhere else. It's all connected.
It is
all connected. It's all the same. How you behave is your behavior. And so I love that. I love that example. And it's true for, especially for people who get confronted. Like confrontation in life is one of those things that can really be a game changer. It's one of those things that, especially when you're dealing with your life or death, right? Like you're just scared. You don't know how to move forward. You don't want to deal with it. You go and you become, I say there's the two people. There's either people that just run towards something, or they're an ostrich and they put their head in the sand. And I really believe that, like, if a life crisis shows you who you are, it shows you, like, are you the ostrich or are you the person that's going to go and fight? And that's how you are in every time that you have something uncomfortable happen to you in life. So I love that. So for those of you, yeah, please go on.
I was going to say something that somebody said to me one time. Great gentleman. I've trained with him in the gym for 25 years, right? He's legally blind. He's trained some of the top female fitness competitors in the world. And I was in a toxic relationship at the time. And something came up about sticking your head in the sand. And he goes, you know what happened when you stick your head in the sand, Carol? I said, no. He goes, your ass is in the air to get kicked.
I'd love that. Okay. I love that.
Okay. And so for your audience, one of the things, and we don't have time for the whole other story I was going to tell you, but for someone who loves stability, thought they were going to live in that house for 26 years, God saw fit for me to move 7 times in 9 months. And now I'm in a process where I'm going to have to move again because there's mold in my apartment. But the thing is, when people ask me how I did it, how I stayed so calm, how I kept trusting in the process, one of the things I said was, well, I'm just in God's personal development program. There's a lot to learn, obviously.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And the other thing I would tell people is, here's the deal. God only gives us a lamplight for our feet, because all we need to do is take the next step. It's just one step at a time, and trust of tacking. You don't eat the elephant. You can't, it's too big. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. So you take one step, evaluate, looked at what worked, what didn't work without judgment. Okay, now I'm going to try this. But you always have that light if you're willing to take that step.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely love that because it is so powerful.
Yeah.
So when people are stuck, and like we say, take 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, whatever it is.
Sure.
But I like that. Like keep one small step, whatever that is, just keep moving forward. I absolutely adore that. Now you are also started a Facebook group called Year with No Fear. You want to tell us a little bit about
Year with No Fear? I did a summit back in late June and early July, and I had 21 top entrepreneurs from across the globe. I mean, as far away as Nigeria and Portugal. I had a lady on my summit who has helped over 50,000 businesses on Instagram. That's all she does is Instagram. She was amazing, amazing. And so now it was called Year with No Fear, Top Entrepreneurs bring you tools, tips, strategies, and tactics on creating your year with no fear. And obviously it was very much more business oriented. What I do, we reframed some of that, but in this Facebook group, it's new. Come join me. Please answer the questions. It's important that you answer the questions to get in. But we're going to be giving people tools and tips and strategies about how to step into 2021 and create your best year yet. We're going to talk about how we understand that fear and excitement are the exact same endorphins in our body, and how we can reframe our thinking to grab onto the excitement. There's going to be wisdom from these other 21 entrepreneurs. I'm going to be pulling golden nuggets from their talks that you're going to get benefits from that. Lori and I were talking earlier. I'm even thinking about creating a workbook to go with each one of the talks as one of the programs inside the group. But it's Year with No Fear, because whether you're in crisis, whether you're sick, whether you're healthy, the most powerful thing you can do is show up. Yeah. Someone said to me, what was the first step in becoming a professional athlete? I said, you got to show up every day. You got to be willing to do things repetitively. You have to be willing to practice when other people are resting. It doesn't mean that you never rest. I don't advocate that, right? But there's times when you have to practice when everyone else is resting.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
In showing up, what I mean by that, and I really help my clients not be attached to the outcome. It's so critical. It's just so critical. And that's what empowering questions do. And it's hard for people to grasp. I blew this lady away on a television talk show last week. She was sitting there like this. And her co-host was like, yeah, that blew you away, didn't it? She's like, but I have to be attached to my goals. I have to know exactly how I'm going to get there. I said, no. The story I gave them was of Pastor Stephen Furtick. You see, often we go to that fear place because we're trying to hold on so tightly to what we think is ours that our hands aren't open to receive all the universe has to give us. And Pastor Stephen Furtick, he's out of North Carolina. He went to the doctor because his elbow was killing him. And the doctor examined it. He goes, it's golfer's elbow. It's a lot like tennis elbow. And Stephen Furtick said, but I don't play either one of those sports. I just lift a lot of weights. And the doctor leaned in and he said, and you could lift a lot more weight if you'll loosen your grip.
Oh.
I'm a weightlifter. That analogy is so true, but it's a true analogy in lifting weights, but it's an analogy across your entire life.
Right? For sure. Yeah.
So last May, go ahead.
Sorry, go, please. Like you got me on. I am like, my brain is spinning from all this good stuff. So I don't want to stop you. Go, carry on.
I told you I'm going to have to come back, right?
Totally. I'd love to have you back. I'm a weightlifter too, right? And it's one of those things that after my surgeries, I've been struggling because my body is different now, right? Yeah. And so, and you just really put me back there where it's like, it's kind of like when you're trying to do a clean or you're trying to go into a squat with some really heavy weight and like you want to just hold that bar. And it's like, keep your palms open, like trust that your body is just going to do what it needs to do. And I love that. Keep them open for sure. It's just, if you remember anything from the talk today, well, there's so many good things but just loosen that grip, especially for those of you listening who are dealing with the unknown right now. You're going through treatment. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Loosen the grip and just believe that you're in a powerful place and that only positive things are going to come your way. And even if it's something that you didn't count on, that may not be as happy or positive and maybe a little negative, like just know that you are powerful enough to move beyond it.
And like, I love that word powerful, because I tell people you can be pitiful or you can be powerful, but you can't be both. And here's the thing. You get to choose. You get to choose every minute of every day. And only when you own that you're choosing, will you then be able to make a different choice. Only then.
100%. And like for me, you know, I recognized really early on during my journey that I couldn't share with people what I had going on, because I knew that it was going to be detrimental to my own emotional stability. So I kept it really quiet. I mean, I didn't tell some of my closest friends who I think to this day still might be mad at me, right? But it's like, I just knew I just couldn't handle it. And I kept it quiet. So for those of you listening, like, do what you need to do for you in order to just get through it. You know, people will forgive you. People will still show up for you. And if they're mad, like, clean it up, figure out a way on how you could resolve the difference, and just keep moving forward, because it's not going to look like how you expect it to look. Right. Carol, I absolutely adore you. Thank you for being here with us today. I want you to come back. Like, this has been fantastic. You are an amazing, amazing soul. And thank you for who you are for the world, because we need you. We need you. Thank you. Everything that you're doing.
And I will send you the link for my Facebook group. I encourage people, you know, come, or if you want to just chat, private message me, and definitely go buy our book today. We're going to be #1 bestsellers. And the good thing is every penny that we raise on Amazon today is going to a charity, all of it. We're going to go help raise up other women. It's the Single Moms Planet charity. So it's less than $10, right? You could even write it off because you know it's going to a charity. but go buy the book. And thank you, Lori. It's been just a privilege and a pleasure to be here.
You're just an amazing soul. So if there's ever anything that we can do to support you and your community, please let us know.
I will. Thank you very much. And blessings to your entire community.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Absolutely.